Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a rising star in the world of acting, someone whose talent is already leaving audiences in awe. Although he's a relative newcomer, he's already making waves with his unforgettable performances in The Devil on Trial, now on Netflix. This young actor is poised in the precipice of an extraordinary career, and the possibilities for his future in this industry are boundless. Get ready to be captivated by the raw talent and boundless potential of our guest today as he embarks on his thrilling journey into the world of acting. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the sensational Adam Hunt. Adam, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's nice to meet you.
I want to ask you a quick question before we dive into it. I did get the opportunity to watch The Devil on Trial. When you were in this movie, this documentary, I got to ask, do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in that story?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I believe in a lot of the Warren stories. Um, just when we were working on the set alone, um, a lot of the younger kids that we were working with, they got a little bit scared just from the source material. But we would sit there and we'd talk with Chris, the director, and we would kind of go over everything that the Warrens did throughout, not just the haunting in Connecticut, but Amityville and just all their cases and how it always seemed to lead to the Warrens somehow profiting off these, poor people, whether it be, a mental illness that some people might suffer from or anything like that. And I don't know necessarily if I believe in any ghosts or anything like that, just because I haven't had any encounters myself, but I'm I'm open to it, I'm an open-minded guy, so
No, that's fair. And listen, if anyone is out there is looking for a good documentary about possession and a little bit of help on mental illness there, definitely the Devil on Trial on Netflix is a great show to watch. So I want to ask you, Adam, what is it about acting that draws you in? You're under 30, you're jumping into this industry here. Why do you love acting? What is it about it?
I think the best part for me is in my professional life, coming out of high school, it was a lot of, nobody really expects much of you because I'm from a small town. So it's everybody pretty much does the exact same thing. For a lot of the females, it's you go into a nursing program, and then a lot of the males, it's you go into construction. So obviously, I went the pretty basic route. I went into construction, and I didn't feel filled in it whatsoever. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do. I'm going to try this wild thing. I want to be an actor, right?
Mhm.
Everybody's big dream when they're a child. And it's just me getting to play all these different characters. It makes it easier for me to connect with people on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes I have difficulty understanding other people's feelings or whatnot. So it's a nice way to ground myself and really connect with everybody around me.
Now, when we talk about that connecting around with everyone on scene with you, I mean, actors know that we have to deep dive into this emotional state of ourselves and explore these, little dark corners that we might not necessarily know are
Yeah.
there to connect. What's that process look like for you?
So for me, it always starts with a ton of research. Even when I was doing high school theater, I would spend, you know, a month before I knew auditions were coming up, and I would just relentlessly research, which is a little ridiculous for a high school play, but yeah, I'm very dedicated when it comes to acting. So I like getting to do that research for it. It's amazing. But yeah, for the darker stuff, it does take a toll, I find, trying to put yourself in the headspace, especially when it came to like we had shot tons of material for the Devil on Trial. They used bits and pieces here and there. So getting into that mindset of, oh, like I'm gonna have to kind of think that I just murdered somebody, and I'm gonna have to sit with that, be like, oh my God, I just took a human life. Sitting with that for 2 weeks or whatever, it takes a toll that you don't really expect when you're just putting on a performance. But it was definitely interesting.
Now, when you talk about doing your audition, you talk about doing the research, and we talk about that aspect of it. What is the training and the education that you received or that you're looking to obtain going forward? Are you doing these? We see them all the time, the weekend workshops for acting. Are you going to go to
Yeah.
acting school? What is that? What's that goal or mindset for you like?
So I don't have any formal acting training, but I am looking into Toronto-based acting classes right now. I'm just trying to find time to fit it in my schedule with school, and then I'm still submitting self-tapes. So I don't know if I want to do online classes because that would fit in with my schedule easier, or if I want to make the drive all the way to Toronto and, once a week or whatever, and to do the classes. Probably online. I think it'll be a little bit easier for me.
Well, driving in and out of Toronto for sure, especially if you get stuck in those traffic jams that are almost
Yeah,
daily.
it's a little bit ridiculous.
So when we look at your past experience and we look at your goals moving forward, what would you say some of your strengths of an actor are?
I would definitely say my dedication. No matter, like, when I first started out doing school plays, it was Footloose, I think, the end of my ninth grade year, and I put so much effort into that just to have 4 seconds worth of speaking on stage. But I'm just unbelievably dedicated, even in everyday life. I mean, I currently work in a kitchen in town that I live in, and extremely dedicated for no real reason. It's just food. But I like to give 110% no matter what I do.
I think everyone can almost relate to that. We're going to dive so hard into it and be so passionate for the three lines at the end
Yeah.
of a 2 hour musical that you come out
Yeah,
and say,
absolutely.
let's do it. And everyone's like, wow, that was what we waited for.
Yeah. 4 months of preparation for 4 lines.
Hey, everyone's been there. And you know what? I think that's the best way to do it is if you don't have those early struggles, then when you make it or when you have that opportunity, it makes it all much more worth it. Like, yes, this is what I've been building up so long for to get.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when we're looking down that road for you, and when you look back upon your inspiration and your influences and these dedication, is there any actor or actress or performer out there where you just really has inspired what you do or kind of motivates you to do a little, push a little harder?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have to say a big one for me is Jake Gyllenhaal. One of the first things I saw him in that I just thought was phenomenal was Donnie Darko,
Mm.
the movie from the early 2000s, and it was phenomenal. And his performance, it was just underrated for being such a moody teen, not really showing any emotion. But the way that he just grounded that character is insane. And then fast forward several years to Nightcrawler, to see such a dramatic shift for him was insane to see. So his performance in that was definitely one of the big things that pushed me to be like, okay, this is what you want to do. You want people to see you put on a performance like that and just be in complete awe.
Now, Donnie Darko was a fabulous film. And even though I kind of agree with you, as a moody teen, but that was the character. That was what the role called
Yeah,
for. And I think he nailed it, but I also understand where you're coming from of, hey, it
yeah,
wasn't a huge emotional arc. It was just moody teen for, for the entire film.
yeah. But he did a great job with it. So props to him.
And when you're in these, you had mentioned earlier about these self tapes and going through the audition process. And we know there's this sea of rejection that comes through, which makes those
Yeah.
wins all much more than worth it. Have you encountered any early challenges or obstacles so far as an actor, and how did you overcome them?
So I haven't been doing it for that long. It's been just over a year now, over a year and a month that I've actually, had a proper agent and been consistently submitting. The strike has been a big hit. So I went from filming Devil on Trial to filming another project in North Bay in Toronto,
Mm.
probably 2 days off of that set. And then it slowed down for the winter and then just audition, audition, audition. And then come around March, just nothing. So I've just been working throughout the summer and that's kind of been it. Submissions are starting to pop up again now, which is nice, but it's still pretty slow.
No, you made an interesting comment there, a proper agent. So for people out there who might not understand our lingo or necessarily understand how agents work, what do you really mean by a proper agent or a tiered agent, I guess?
So basically, I'm signed with an agency out of Vancouver. They also have a Toronto office called Ignite Artists, and all they basically do is help you get into larger rooms. You can sign up for all these different websites like Actors Access or even smaller ones like Backstage and self-submit for projects, but it's so much easier to get into bigger rooms when you have an agent. And without it, I wouldn't be able to submit for half the things that I do.
It's a neat concept because it is one of those things where you as an actor and you as a professional can open the door yourself, but those larger
Yeah,
doors or those heavier doors, you know, those casting people aren't going to look at you. They're not going to read your emails and submission if it doesn't come from an agent, is the best way to
yeah,
put it.
unfortunately.
Yeah, and typically they have their favorites, right? They'll sit there and say, "Hey, you know, where's my favorite agency? How come I don't see them? What do you got? What's new?"
Yeah,
Oh, I appreciate you sharing that with us. And as
yeah,
you're
absolutely.
looking futuristic goals there, I can't speak today. If you're looking at your
That's
futuristic
okay.
goals, is there any specific genre or role that you would say, you know, that's the one that I really want to do? Would it be action? Would it be drama, horror, thriller? You know, what would be your this is where I see my career?
I so I think it's a lot easier to get into horror as a younger actor just because there's so much output when it comes to horror movies. So I would love to do um like a proper horror movie since The Devil on Trial is, paranormal documentary. I didn't get to do too much in it. So
Mhm.
I would like to go to a proper horror movie, and eventually I would like to take on, psychological thrillers, more in-depth dramas, things that really push me.
No, that's fair. You got to push those boundaries and get those emotional
Absolutely.
arcs in them. So when we look at these long-term goals and you say, you know, I want this emotional arc and I want to be in features, do you have a long-term acting goal from as opposed to an acting profession, maybe a business profession? Where do you see that business professional side for a long-term goal for Adam?
Long term, I would like to probably, well, I'd like to start off booking consistent work. That would be great. That's every actor's dream to start off, right? Um, and then I would like to probably act until I'm 40. And then from there, I'd like to transition into directing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what about directing appeals to you? Why is that the mark? Like, hey, we're going to go up until 40 and then we're going to transition to directing. Why is that path for you?
I've always just liked telling stories. So I think getting to be, behind the camera and direct people and just show them how to tell a story through my point of view would be really exciting. So I would absolutely love the opportunity to do that.
Nice. I think that would be really cool. And I think a lot of actors out there now do something similar where they say, hey, I'm going to
Yeah.
try my hand at directing now after acting for X amount of years.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned these self tapes and these auditions, and they're coming in a little bit more with the strike kind of sort of coming to an end, which hopefully is sooner rather than later.
Hopefully.
How do you how do you deal with this? I'm going to use the word disappointment when you don't get a role. Let's say you get 10 auditions, you submit all 10 of them, maybe you get one or two that calls you back. If you're lucky, it's all 8 or 10. And you
Yeah.
sit there and say, you know, I really wanted number 7 and why didn't I get it? What did take us on that emotional roller coaster?
It was a lot more difficult in the beginning. And again, I haven't been doing it for that long, but the first couple months I was auditioning like crazy. I was submitting 10, 12 tapes a week. And it really got me into the mindset like, oh, I'm probably just not what they're looking for. You have to kind of sit there and distance yourself from it and think maybe it's not my talent. Um, Maybe it's more so I'm just not right for this role. And that's totally okay because you don't want to get down on yourself because then it takes away all the productivity.
Mhm.
But for me, it's definitely a lot easier now. The longer you do it, the easier it gets. The rejection kind of just feels normal.
Unfortunately, it feels normal.
Yeah.
It's just the numbness that happens.
Yeah.
And Adam, what is something that you do outside of acting to contribute to your creative growth as a person?
Um, So I like to write screenplays. So I'm working on two at the moment, and then I do a lot of painting. I make my own music, stuff like that. Just anything creative that can kind of keep everything moving and keep everything liquid is perfect.
Now, the scripts that you're working on, are they horror based, drama based, action based? Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yeah. So one that I'm working on is it's horror based. It's very very early stages. I kind of just have log line and kind of synopsis for what I want written down. And then the other one is basically based on my upbringing. So it's very dramatic. I get a childhood all the way into young adulthood, just telling whole story of me. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Nice. And you mentioned that you paint as well.
I do. Yeah.
Are these more abstract? Are they characters? Are they, you know, how did you get into this? Because it seems like, we're acting, we're writing, we want to be directing, and we're painting, which are all amazing, emotional, connecting, creative pieces. I just want to learn
Yeah.
more about that. So tell me more
Yeah.
about the painting side.
I I'm not very good at it, but I just like doing it for fun. It's sometimes, when I get overwhelmed, it's a good thing to center me, or if I feel like I'm losing control with auditioning and stuff and it just gets to be too much, thinking about the rejection and everything. It's nice to just take a breath, center yourself, throw some paint on a canvas and hope it looks mediocre and then hang it on the wall.
Smear it around and say, that's my September artwork.
Yeah.
And Adam, can you share with us any advice or tips that you would give out to an aspiring actor or someone who says, I want to get into this industry, I don't really know what to do? What would you tell them? Where would you point them in the direction?
So for self tapes is where I would start. It's because it's such a big thing. I would definitely buy yourself a decent camera, make sure you have good lighting, and focus on making your tapes as good as possible, and then work on self submission. Just self submit until you book a couple things, get yourself an agent, and then pretty much from there just work your ass off.
So when we talk about these self submissions again, there's the Mandy and the Backstage and Actors Access that everyone
Yeah,
can pay to play, pay to be on those platforms.
yeah,
Those are some really interesting tips. Get a decent camera, work on the lighting, and work on the self tape piece of it. Now, I mean, a lot of actors know we end up becoming our own directors and editors with these self tapes. So hopefully
yes,
you have a decent editing software as well.
yeah.
So, but I would like to ask you, when we talk about these self tapes and starting just really getting in that mindset and that process, how do you know what's the right monologue or right scene for you when you're doing self tapes on your own for the first time?
I would probably start off by, kind of taking a deep dive into yourself, be like, what is my talent level at? And then where do I want to go as an actor? So you leave that little space to just work as hard as you possibly can to fill the gap, right?
Right. Neat.
Yeah.
And Adam, if you had a magic wand and you could change one thing about the world tomorrow, what would that be?
End world hunger.
Oh,
Yeah.
that one.
I
And
think everybody should have access to food.
no, I don't disagree at all. I think that's it's huge right now. We have all these billionaires and people with their own spaceships going to space for fun, but there's
Yeah,
whole continents and countries that need clean water and food and care. No, for sure. And Adam, if
absolutely.
someone said what's something that scares you, what would you tell them?
Failure.
Oh,
It's a sense of perfectionism that I have. Failure's a big one.
okay.
That's why I work as hard as I do. I don't want to disappoint anybody, right?
Well, especially yourself, you're working this hard. You want to make sure your outcome is
Yeah.
there. I do. And I love that answer you gave. It's the dedication. It's 110% for it. And it's neat that you say that it's a fear or a scaring of failure. Do you think that's on yourself or just from a presentation standpoint of everybody else looking at your performance?
I think it's more just for myself because at the end of the day, casting directors, they see hundreds of tapes a day. They're like, if my tape's not memorable, that's on me, right?
Mhm.
So if I can't make everything I do as good as possible, then I just feel like I'm not, you know, outputting as much as possible. Sorry, my dog in the background barking.
No, it's all good. Him and the cat have been running in and out. It's perfect.
Yeah, yeah, love chasing each other.
And Adam, if we asked your friends and said, "Hey, what's something that people tend to misunderstand about Adam Hunt?" What would they say?
I'm a pretty lonely guy, kind of by choice. I but stop. Sorry.
All good.
He just loves watching people. Yeah, I'm very picky about how I spend my time. So I think people kind of misunderstand it as me being a little bit of an ass because I don't like to spend my time with you know, people that aren't like-minded.
No, absolutely. And Adam, I have time for one last question for you, and I really appreciate your time and
Absolutely.
you being here.
Yeah.
And it's what makes Adam Hunt smile?
My fiance, my dog when he's not barking during interviews. Family and friends, and then just creating stuff.
I
Always
love
makes you
that.
smile.
Fiance, family, friends, the dogs when they're not barking, and just creating stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
Adam, where can people find you? Where can people learn more about you?
So people can check out my IMDb page if they want to see anything that I'm currently working on or anything like that. It's just Adam Hunt. I believe it's the 16th. There's a lot of me on IMDb. And then just my Instagram page, if you just type in, I think it's adam.hunt_, and then you'll find my page. See what I'm up to.
Fabulous. Well, again, that was my last question for you, Adam. I really appreciate your time. Everyone out there, remember to smile to inspire and have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for your time, Adam.
Thank you so much. It was lovely talking with you.